We shared the project at the Rampa Prenestina, that needs Prenestina ramp. So this guy, Professor Thomas Asensio Munoz, amazing, it's really funny, but also amazing professional. He's a designer, he's doing a lot of opera. So he came to Rome and he said, we need to do something together. And I said, yes, let's do it with our students, our courses. And then he said, we need a space. And we said, we possibly had a space. And when we went to see this, he said, yes, it's amazing. So this building, of course, was a kind of hell. You know, it's like the idea of hell, purgatory, and paradise of Dante, or the Divine Comedy. So this idea to go down in hell, because the story that we picked, we found a story that was much in the space.
Yeah.
And the story is about Orpheus and Euridice. That is this fable, ancient fable, that is the story of this amazing player, singer, and was so good that the gods loved him. In a fiancée, this fiancée unfortunately was bitten by a snake and she died. So he started to be despair, and he asked the gods if he was able to go to the hell to pick her out. And because he was very good, he said, okay, but tell her she will never ever turn back, because if she would turn back, she would stay in the hell. He went back, he found her, right? And like she turned back, that's it. So this is the story, and this was, let's say that we devised the story using not only the codist story or the fable, that is going back to the Greek, but also we found that there was a modern interpretation, Bucamadris, that was putting this into the contemporary world. So we used that text as a script. Then the idea was to have meetings with the students and devising this. First, our students in Italy, then we went to Spain, to Madrid, with the students to work with the other students, and that the Spanish came to Rome, and they lived for a week in the building. It was amazing, because it's like abandoned, but there are some people, some kind of charity, there is a theater company, and we had this collaboration with this theater company. So we devised the show, and the idea was that we were kidnapping the audience at the entrance. Of course, during the night, we were putting masks, and this was before the mask of punch duck.
Yeah.
These masks were to stop them seeing what was happening while they were kidnapped, put into a car that was playing the opera music of Theo and Euridice, and driven to the last floor. There was the 7th floor.
Yeah.
And then from there, each scene was one circle. So we had this idea that Euridice was the main character. She was talking about the story. Orpheus was not there. And we thought that it was great to give to each floor a scene, but each floor a different Euridice. So these Euridices were 5 or 6, and they were doing each of these scene, and they were disappearing, taking another steps, going out. And then when we were going at the end into these 2 floors under the level of the street surface,
But it's like
final things, they were already there. When the audience arrived, it was a very nice moment. The big problem was no electricity. We were not able to put any electricity in the 7th floor. The last floor had a plug, and we were risking to be electrocuted all the time. It was so wet, and it was winter, and this was February. So the costumes were made for June, July.
Yeah.
Very thin, and cannot believe. But the energy was amazing, and we had 2 languages, and we have for the same character, Spanish and Italian world, and the same script was translated. So you have a piece of the script in Italian and then the Spanish version.
Yeah.
So the lighting was important because we didn't have any lights. And the idea was, okay, let's use candles. So real candles, torches, battery-operated torches. And I have to say that the cars were really interesting because we put a red gel on the lights, on the headlights. And what they were drawing the people up and down. And imagine that the round was for two cars, so there were cars going up while cars were coming down, risking collisions all fine. But with these lights, red lights, they were making this amazing color and a dynamic lighting design, plus the music. So imagine to have 6 cars going up and down, each of them with the loud music or the opera, and then going up and down with the lights. It was like a 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then, of course, everything else, we had a series of performers. They were a dancer, and they had lights on the hands and the shoes, basically. So where there were movements, they were drawing with lights. Other interesting thing were to find that because it was completely out of any risk assessment, we didn't do a risk assessment. We couldn't do one because it was an illegal place to study. No electricity, fire, open fire. And so the idea was, at the beginning, each person attending a show, when it was, let's say, kidnapped, was like in prison, not really kidnapped.
Yeah.
So you were like arriving to the prison. There was the guard there. You have to give a consent form.
Yeah.
It was like, whatever would happen is not our fault. So it's your responsibility. Signed. Date. And that was for us a big reassurance. But was amazingly successful. This was only for maybe 80 people. You did like 2 or 3 runs, and that's it. But the students that had this experience are still thanking me for this opportunity. And also, this was generating collaborations. And the people that attended the show included friends, relatives, but also people that were into the industry, theater, drama. And one of them, interestingly, I didn't know he was there, but there was a Frank, this person. Then after a couple of weeks, called me saying, "Oh, I knew that you did an amazing performance, this and that, and I have something that I would like to propose because I can't do this, but this was leading to another project, an international project." Do you have any specific question on the performance?
You answered most of my questions on it in terms of choosing the space, actually creating narrative around the space, around the 7 floors, creating the scenes, and about how, the entire set was the space, and it wasn't just coincidental. But I think that is different when it comes to looking at the Nottingham Castle example, because that is about the space and the space's specific history, whereas the project you just worked on is very like sculptural. It's using the space as a kind of sculptural aspect and creating its own narrative because it's quite a big canvas, which I think is really, really interesting. But I think that's a really interesting use of the space to create a show that you can feel, because it's one of those things, you're completely involved in the movement of it and the feeling of being kidnapped, of being moved. I think that just engages you entirely. So I think that was really interesting. But in terms of question, I think you actually answered most of the ones ahead of my head.
To say that, it was a great experience because there was this sense of danger around, in a place that is definitely abandoned.
Yeah.
And also was, as any place that is abandoned, you can see some graffiti here and there. And the graffiti were an amazing opportunity during the performance because these performers were doing gesture and illuminating part of the graffiti that otherwise would be completely not visible. So there was a revelation of the graffiti, the fact that you are descending, the idea of this going down to hell. Then we could different performances in which was not just talking, but also was, in one I was playing the jump back.
Yeah.
And there was a kind of fight. In another one, it was someone writing the letter. And so there were different interesting things happening. And then also the fact that this is a great thing. This was a building that was abandoned. After this performance, the city council decided that this building should be used. And guess what happened? They painted over all the graffiti. They made it white. So they canceled everything. They restored it. They had some lights here and there. And then they called graffiti people doing graffiti, to create the first museum of graffiti in Go. So now it's a museum. That's right. So this idea of using found spaces most of the time is not only because it's fun and it's interesting, but also because this place can be reused because of the performance.